If you clicked on this video, chances are you already know who Mr. Beast is. At the end of the day, he's closing on being the most subscribed to channel in the whole of YouTube. And naturally, his career is filled with accomplishments and a lot of success. But it wasn't always like this, as Mr. Beast had a couple of failed projects that we're going to discuss in this video. Starting off with Beast Burger. While on the surface level, the idea of opening a restaurant doesn't seem bad at all, but rather innovative and one of the most successful moves that Mr. Beast could have done, especially that he put a lot of effort into it, from finding a top-class chef to put the menu, to promoting the idea through various YouTube videos that gathered a lot of views. Mr. Beast's idea was to open as many restaurants as he could, so he decided to rely on ghost kitchens, as he wouldn't have to deal with permits. Plus, the idea was very simple. He provides the branding, the menu, and the orders, while the restaurants provide the staff, the equipment, and the food that's going to be delivered. And a company that provided all these services was Virtual Dining Concepts, which was already well established since they already had worked with the likes of Tyga and Mariah Carey. And they would secure a deal with Mr. Beast. They'll find a handful of locations that will fulfill their goal. It was kind of like two birds with one stone, as not only Mr. Beast will fulfill his business side, also help a lot of small restaurants get their feet off the ground, continuing his charitable work. On its launch, it gathered a lot of hype as it was expected, with it being the #1 trending in Twitter and had multiple reviews on YouTube gathering tens of millions of views of the hype. But as rapid as it went up, it all came crashing down, as a flux of negative reviews start coming in from the quality of the food, which was expected due to the high demand that even made them run out of delivery drivers. Mr. Beast will later tweet that he's given refunds to people who didn't like their orders. And besides this minor setbacks, the business was blooming, as they sold over 1 million sandwiches in under 2 months and opened locations in the UK, and eventually opening his own physical restaurant, reaching a whopping $100 million in revenue in 2022. And over the years, there was no more overcooked or undercooked food. However, the inconsistency was still there, as Mr. Beast cannot control the quality of the ghost kitchens. It would basically just order and hope the ghost kitchen you order from had a good quality, which is a problem you'd always face if you work with ghost kitchens, as Eddie Burback did an amazing video discussing just that. And the amount of criticism that Mr. Beast was getting, Mr. Beast decided to withdraw himself from the whole project, not only because it was ruining his brand and his image, but he also had Feastables that was doing very good, and in his own words, is awesome and something I'm way more passionate about. And he'd also tweet that he has completely moved on from Mr. Beast Burgers. However, Virtual Dining Concepts, the company he parted with, wouldn't let him move on from the project. And since then we haven't heard a lot from Mr. Beast, as probably his team advised him not to speak on the matter until it's resolved. Moving on to something that Mr. Beast is more known of, is giving away money and having incredible ideas. Two things that were combined in the Finger on the App challenge. On the 23rd of June 2020, Mr. Beast would release a game on the App Store, and it was very simple. Keep your finger on the app, and the last one to remove his finger wins $25,000. And besides serious sabotaging a couple of players,
You got any new followers? Oh, hey Ziri, I appreciate the. Oh my god!
I don't know what that means.
it was an instant success, as Mr. Beast will give out $20,000 to each one of the last 4 contestants instead of letting them battle it out. So on the 15th of March, Mr. Beast announced part 2. This time, the last one to take his finger was going to win $100,000. Between the two challenges, Mr. Beast gained over 20 million subscribers, which meant way more people were going to take part on the second part. But that wasn't actually the case, as only 100,000 people more would take part. However, it didn't go as smooth as the first part, as the game would randomly glitch and count players out even if they don't lift their finger from the app. And this wasn't a case of 1 or 2 players, but thousands of players had the same issue. These games would take to Twitter and say that the reason for this were from touchscreen sensitivity or moisture, or even the connection, since a lot of people were streaming their gameplay. But a lot of people didn't like this explanation. You could potentially avoid this problem by paying $6.99 to get some extra lives. But also this had a problem, as a player took to Twitter and said that all 3 lives that he bought glitched out and that they actually withdraw $15 instead of $6.99. Or another player that said he was kicked out without losing any lives. That's beside the sheer amount of players that paid for the extra lives and didn't receive them at all. These games will once again take to Twitter and explain that the reason behind this was because Google or Apple didn't process the payments before the game. However, to their credit, they did refund the players that purchased the live and it didn't work. Another issue with the app was that it had ads that randomly popped up, knocking a lot of players out of the game. And even though the game was already known to be sponsored by Lords Mobile, it still doesn't excuse the pop-up glitches. But for the third time, these games took to Twitter, explaining that the players will lose for an X reason, and the ad will play directly after they lose, and it just gives the illusion as if the player lost because of the ad. And after 2 days and 3 hours, SwagBacon123 was the last person to take his finger over the app, winning $100,000, with MrBeast giving away $20,000 for the second place. And beside a lot of complaints, MrBeast was kind enough to issue refunds to everybody that had a complaint, beside giving $60,000 extra from the prize money that was advertised. The last failed project we'll talk about in this video. On the 24th of January 2021, MrBeast will tweet that for $10, you can send whatever picture you want to the moon. All you gotta do is go to the website and purchase a spot on the hard drive. There were even bundles that included MrBeast moon-themed merch. MrBeast will go on a live stream advertising the whole thing, and in the description you can read that later in that year, 2021, NASA was planning on putting a rover on the moon. So MrBeast partnered with Astrobotic and managed to get a space on a DHL moonbox. The mission was planned to take place in June 2021, but then June came and nothing was heard from MrBeast, and that was because the whole project was delayed to 2022. And when that day came, well, it got delayed another time. And this whole time, since the live stream that MrBeast did, he never spoke on it again. But that actually made a lot of sense, since Jimmy had no control over the project, so he couldn't promise anything to the fans, and it would be very repetitive if he came out every time saying that it got delayed. And finally, in January of this year, 2024, the project started. However, it didn't go as planned. This mission was set to be the first mission by a private company to land something on the moon. But just minutes after it was launched, Astrobotic announced there was leakage, so they just had to abandon the project and let it fall back to Earth. That meant that the hard drive that MrBeast had on the project was completely destroyed, and understandably, the people that paid for it were very upset. And beside the lack of communication, MrBeast actually is issuing refunds to anyone that reaches out to his payment support. This video goes to prove that even if you are a creator as big as MrBeast and having a lot of successful projects varying from a chocolate like Feastables to recreating game shows and giving away millions of dollars, you can still have some minor setbacks